Oh, hey folks, this is part 2. What do you think of my fancy new duds? This looks like a skirt, doesn't it? Now that I look at it more, it kind of looks like a skirt. I don't know. Now I'm kind of embarrassed I bought this damn thing. Now I'm looking at this, it looks really strange. That is really odd. Anyways, bear with it, folks. This is part 2 of your lecture. We are going to get back to what we were speaking of before. Man, I really feel like a hula dancer here or something. I don't know if that was what the intention was for this, but it's very strange. I just looked at it. Anyways, I'll be self-conscious about it now. I wanted to try to explain this to you because I come down so hard on people right now, and there's good reason for it. The problem is, there are different type of intelligences. By the way, welcome subscriber number 13, who is my friend, 6'9" dunce, who is now affectionately known as MJ. So we can keep his anonymity. I got to subscribe to him too. And he's been checking out my channel, and it looks like he got another person over there to subscribe as well. MJ, welcome. And you know me, you've known me for over 20 years, and you know what kind of person I am. And you know that there's not a bad bone in my body. You know that, don't you, MJ, right? And you know that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make people understand what's coming and what's going on. So the problem is I keep getting my channel terminated because you can't do this. They're not allowing it. Isn't that strange, folks? They're not allowing it. Period. And it's right. That's because we have to have everybody on board. On board for what? Huh? On board for what? That's what we're going to talk about today. Because you're mindless idiots. You can't think. You can't use deductive reasoning. You can't use analogous judgment. You can't use anything. Discernment, it's all out the window now. My trip yesterday to Popeye's Chicken was one of the most frightening things I've ever remembered. I've never felt so intellectual in my life. I simply showed the story on my phone to about 8 people that were young and old. And I said, they're going to fire this man. They fired the man, the NFL coach, because he refuses to get jabbed. It was just like I said it, and I was in a graveyard. The young guy who looked like he liked football didn't quite know what to make out of it, but he knew he had to go 1 and 2. He got it. He got it. You understand? So he doesn't really, that. Bunch of fucking retarded idiots. Because they can't think. Well, I got thing 1 and thing 2. Well, whatever. Okay, whatever. I'm going to try to show you some things. Well, yeah, he's an anti-this, he's an anti-this. Folks, they have had artificial intelligence. You know, every time you call and it says this call will be recorded for training purposes, among other things. Well, we're going to talk about the among other things. You understand that, mindless douchebags? The other things are, they sell that data. They sell it to companies that put it on master correlators and computers, and they say, let's see the people who are really pissed because they lost $50. Let's see the people, what they do this and that. This is what they're doing, folks. They know you better than you know yourself. There's no more cold call advertising. Because it's not necessary. They can tell that if you have a Harley Davidson, you're going to be buying some quality porn. You don't believe me? I don't care whether you believe me or not. You might even pick up a nice little thing of leather gloves or saddlebags or whatever. This is all, the computers know what they're doing. That's why I told you we have to shift strategies. We're no longer trying to play for a win. We never have been. It's impossible. The people aren't savvy enough to this. They don't understand anything. They think they're smart because they're a carpenter. They think they're smart because they're a lawyer. They think they're smart because they're a doctor. They think they're smart because they're an ASC qualified mechanic. Whatever it is. They're not smart at all. in certain ways. Hello? Hey, Deb, what's up? Yeah, I'm working. What's up? I could do it for you tomorrow. Can I call you back in about 15? Can I call you back in about 20 minutes? I'm going to try to work that out right now. You got it. So I'll talk to you in a little bit, okay? All right. Bye-bye. Well, folks, my dance card is absolutely full. Now, let's get back to the business at hand here. You may be a great mechanic. You may be a great lawn man. You may be a great architect. Doesn't mean that you have any experience going up against artificial intelligence and a scam that is moving in to take complete and utter control of your life as well as other people's lives. And you haven't been savvy enough to figure this out, virtually any of you. Now let me say this before I go any further, because if you were ever to talk to subscriber number 13, you know what he would tell you? He'd say, this really surprises me, because that guy right there, he's like one of the nicest guys that never, does anything to piss anybody off. He's just a real quiet guy. He's just a nice guy. It's true. But do you know why I'm doing this? I'm doing this because I do not want to see us lose our freedoms, which we've already lost. And I have to show you by comparative reasoning. But as soon as I say that, the artificial intelligence has already convinced you that anything that anybody says that isn't a cheerleader for what you believe in is an anti-person. He's anti. He's this, right? You practice doing this. He's like a mindless douchebag. You understand? That's your comparative reasoning. You understand? Because you're mindless idiots. That's why you subscribe here, to smarten up. Now, I want to make sure that you people understand this. Honestly. I want to make sure you do. The comparison to the outlaw of drinking back in the 20s is somewhat accurate. Why? Because you have people, by and large, at that time, they were doing it to be good people. Do you understand that? You would deny somebody alcohol because it was for their own good. And you were right, it was for their own good. But that's not how the world works. Do you understand that, folks? It was a good idea, except it wasn't a good idea. Why? Because that's how we got the Chicago gang wars. 2-bit thugs were putting their money together, going to Canada or France or Louisiana or whatever it was. They were getting hooch and selling it for just ridiculous amounts of money. And they wound up doing all sorts of bad things, and police became paid off. I know that's hard for you mindless idiots to understand. Do you understand that if somebody became wealthy enough, they paid off police officers? So it began to become very, very difficult to catch people doing this. They were protected. Oh no, I'm not making any sense, am I? Right, folks? I'm not making any sense, right? This is what this created. The intentions were pure. They were trying to just make everybody a better person. That's what the people are trying to do now. The artificial intelligence knows this. It knows it. It knows how to play you like a fiddle. It knows you want to be good, that you want to kind of look out after other people, to help them along and to give them motivation and this and that. They already know about this. That's what they're counting on. So what am I supposed to tell you? I'm supposed to fill you in on history, which you're ignorant about. You don't know history. I know more history than you, and I don't know much history. What Are you willing to pay for the scam? What are you willing to pay? Because a lot of you haven't answered that question. It's never been presented to you. And you say, well, what are you talking about? All it is a couple of things and it's easy. Well, you don't know that. You do not know the effects of this. You don't know anything, do you? Well, I've been listening to the professionals. Well, good for you. Good for you. Most of you wouldn't know what the 3 letters of the alphabet are that make up your body. Most of you couldn't tell me one thing about it. I probably know more than you do. And yet you're going to sit there and tell me about how safe. It's safe. It's safe. I tell you, they're watching TV. It's safe. I heard it 1,000 times. Them and their stupid crocodile tears. Every time they come out, they cry and tell us everything. And you mindless dupes sit there and go along with it like you're watching Peyton Place. You mindless fools. Now, what do I mean? Are you willing to buy it? Folks, I got news for you. Thing 1 and thing 2 isn't going to be, in my opinion, extremely effective unless they get everybody to do it. Do you understand? A lot of you mindless idiots don't understand that in history, from Rome to Egypt to India, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, they couldn't get everybody on board. They could by force. They could by force. But the Romans liked white lions in their arenas of death. Some people found that when the Romans came and settled their area, they didn't like to give up their white lions because they were sacred, etc., etc. You're not going to have 100% compliancy. You're not going to compliance. You're not going to get it. So this is what we have to do. You have to decide how you're going to sell it and how you're going to buy it. Now, what do you mean buy? Folks, you have to determine what are you willing to do to the people who do not want it. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to watch them be tortured? How about take away their job if they need to fly? If they need to fly and they're with a police department that needs to fly and go to different areas, don't you think you should do that to them? And then have the nerve to turn around and say that it's not mandatory? You're absolutely right, it's not mandatory. But if you want to get on a plane and fly, of course, there's a problem because you can still fly, but there's a long list of things that's pretty complicated, from testing to quarantining and things like this. You can go into it. I'm not going to get into it. Are you willing to do that to people? Because you know what's going to happen? You cost enough people their jobs, and you cost enough people their livelihoods who have religious principles against this, or they just don't want to do it. You have to determine to what level you're willing to support. Now, these mindless jackasses out here, they're willing to do anything, including torture killings. I'm not making that up. They're priming us for it right now. I read you the story a day or two ago. They're losing patience for people saying no. If they say that they're going to be tortured or put into re-education camps, you fucking idiots are all for it. Every one of you. You know I'm telling you the truth. You don't care. I do. I know the cost because I'm familiar with history. I'm not watching the Hulk take giant strides going across the meadowlands. I know a little bit about history and the lessons thereof. Something you are completely ignorant of, unless you're a history scholar. And then you may not put it together. So what are you willing to support? Are you willing to support separation from your children? Would you like to do that? Could be dangerous for the children, you know. Take the parents away from the children. What are you willing to do? Huh? Mindless jackasses, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to put people into solitary confinement? Are you willing to sit on top of people and give it to them by anal insertion? I'm not making this up. They're already doing that in China. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you, mindless idiots? No, you didn't know. In some airports, including, by the way, the diplomats who were not immune from it from Japan, who were complaining because they were taking anal swabbings. I'm not making that up. They had to do that in order to, unless you were a Chinese citizen, you had to do that. Not in all airports, but in some. You didn't hear about that? That's because you're a mindless jackass and you're listening to exactly what they're telling you. And anyone telling you anything else, slap you in the face. You don't know anything. You can't think. All you can do is, he's anti. You're mindless idiots. You're hearing what they want you to hear. Probably owned by the majority of these networks, owned by one people. And they want you to hear it. And only that. Why do you think my station was destroyed twice? They don't want you to hear any of this. I can't even get into it because I'll lose my channel. But that's good for you folks because you think somehow that this is good. This is against every principle we ever stood for in this country. But you mindless idiots are mindless idiots. I finally had a talk with reality. And I told them, I said, look, these people are just foot soldiers. Don't feel sorry for them. Don't think they're going to change their minds. They're foot soldiers for the army that is going to destroy you and crush you and make you conform to what they want. So there you have it. And you can make of it what you will. Because I really don't know what to say anymore. It gets worse every day. And when you show it to people at Popeyes, I wish I had it on camera. They looked at it and they just kind of like, they didn't say a word. Because they can't think. They just know they got it. They got it. So it's not a concern to them. They don't care about those people. Those people are troublemakers. They're only bad people. Don't you understand this, folks? Well, you're going to learn. Because they're going to pick the wrong person to fool with, and you could have a martyr situation. A martyr is somebody who dies for the cause. And they tend to have an effect on the way things are perceived. Too complicated, I can't explain it to people who are playing video games. It's not possible for you to understand this. It's too complicated. And we're going to end it there. So remember, ask yourself, can you separate the parents from the children? Is that something you're willing to do? Are you willing to take these people and put them into re-education centers like they're doing in China? Are you willing to torture them until they come around? What are you willing to do? Mindless jackasses, what are you willing to do? Oh, it'll never come to that. Really? Really? You know, if you want to go see Bruce Springsteen, you know that you have to have something. Did you know that? As well as other things. And they can call it whatever you want. It is being forced upon us. That's what you idiots want. You were so scared. And by the way, like I told you before, we're not going to get into it. If you get sick, you get nothing. If I have anything to say about it, you get nothing. Nobody put a gun to your head for you to take that goddamn shit. Nobody put a gun to your head. Oh, but we were going to die. We had to do it. Too goddamn bad. You had to sign papers. Remember the miracle? The big miracle? They developed the miracle for you because you were going to die. Oh my God! Oh, quick! Oh my God! If you get sick, I don't want you getting anything if you get sick from that. If they trace it back to that, I don't want you getting anything. And the next time around, the people will be more cautious and not believe because your fucking television tells you so. And with that, I will say goodbye.